Hello.
Hello everybody.
Sue's been away and she's just come back, and we were having a coffee and a catch up, and we thought really we ought to sit down and record this because we're talking a lot about samplers that Sue has stitched today, and you've been home, haven't you, for the last 2 weeks? Home, we're
Back up north, the north of England, and travelling around seeing friends and family, which has been absolutely fantastic, because we haven't seen them because we've had the COVID restrictions before, and obviously we've moved down to Cornwall, so yeah, so you can all be included in our catch-up, can't
That's
you?
right. And because Sue's from the north of England, when you say that you go up north, you say
Up north.
up north.
Up north.
That's some dialect for you.
The Yorkshire dialect.
Yeah. We were just talking about how Sue was born in a place that Jane Elizabeth Milner lived in. So this is Jane Elizabeth Milner.
I couldn't believe it when I read the booklet. When you were talking, because she was born in
Keighley.
Keighley.
I've been learning how to say it properly today.
Because the G and the H, you'd think it was Keighley, but it's not, it's Keith.
Keighley.
Keighley. Keighley in
Yeah.
West Yorkshire. But I was just saying, we went to visit my auntie who still lives there, and we drove past where Jane lived at that time.
I know, it's amazing,
Queen
isn't
Street.
it?
Yeah. I think part of it's been a bit demolished now from them, but the area, I couldn't believe it really.
Yeah. So this area is where sort of the area where the Brontes lived.
Haworth is very near.
Yeah.
And it's in the what used to be the West Riding of Yorkshire, so West Yorkshire. But all around where she lived, in Wakefield, where sadly I think she died, didn't she?
Yeah.
I know Wakefield very well. I've worked in Wakefield.
Yeah.
So it's just an amazing coincidence, really.
Because when you read the book, you rang me up.
Yeah,
I don't believe this.
I think it was something. I think like after 9 o'clock at night. And normally I don't ring people after 9 o'clock at night, but I went, I've just got to ring you up and tell you. It sort of leapt out from the page.
Yeah.
So that's where I was from and born.
There we are. So when you stitch Jane,
Yes.
you'll have to take her back home and.
I will.
Yeah. So Jane is the little bonus sampler for the Rose Ada Featherstone Stitch Along. And did you see on Facebook this week the beautiful needle minders that Hobby House Needleworks have got?
Oh,
they're to die for. I wish I could qualify for the draw for one.
Yeah,
I love them so
Hobby
much.
House.
Yeah, they've got 20 of these beautiful needle minders, and everybody who has purchased or pre-ordered the booklet for Rose Ada Featherstone is going into a draw, and I think it might be the 26th of October. I'll put it on this video, the actual date that they're going to draw on 20 people.
That's a lot, isn't it? That's a...
Yeah, because they're not cheap, those
No,
needle
no,
minders.
no.
Yeah, it's a really, really lovely, generous sort of gift to the to needleworkers.
It is.
So I would love one of those.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to buy one. I can't go in the drawer.
Buy one.
So
She's such a pretty sampler as well, isn't she?
She is absolutely beautiful. I love her colours. I think those colours are fabulous. I love that sort of plum, and against the orange, and the that beautiful green.
It is a lovely palette.
Really,
I like
really
the greens.
lovely.
I'm a green person.
Yeah.
I like.
And of course, Rose was from Yorkshire as well.
Up north.
Up north.
In North Yorkshire. We'd say in North Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Because where I lived, it's right on the border of Yorkshire and Lancashire, and there's always the rivalry. So I'm from Yorkshire, I will point out. Had to live in Lancashire for a while, but I'm thinking.
But you're part Cornish now.
Part Cornish, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just saying, coming down to Cornwall, as much as I love the north and I love all our friends and family, that are up there, coming here, it's not just like coming home, is it? It's just so relaxing. It's just a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, we always feel it's our retreat from the real world, because in Cornwall, especially the Lizard Peninsula where we both live, it's sort of way behind the rest of the country.
It is somehow, yeah.
Yeah, great community.
Yeah.
So there we are. So if you come to Cornwall, you'll have to come down and have a coffee with Sue and myself.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We might even throw in a bit of cake.
Yeah. We've been comparing our current projects. So we both had them out and we were catching up because Sue's been away. She hasn't seen what I've been doing and I haven't seen what Sue's been doing.
We're having a show and tell.
A show and tell, yeah. So I've made wonderful progress on this piece. I showed it on Sunday and today is Thursday, October the
something, I don't know.
14th?
This is when you retire.
This might be Thursday, October the 14th, and we will release this video in a few days' time. So this is my progress, and I just love this sampler so much. And it goes to show what you can create with very few colours, because Rachel, she didn't use many colours. There's a blue to be added to this sampler, and that's all the colours. And this linen from Michelle, Tabby Cat, sold as Mill on the Floss Samplers website, is amazing. I had a great big huge piece of it and it's all gone because we've got 3 models in production on this linen now.
It's very, so if you looked at the linen you might think these are too dark, wouldn't you? But when you actually get the floss on it and the stitches on it, I think it really does.
It really does.
Yeah,
you just have to have the courage to stitch on it.
Yeah.
So there we are. And yours?
Mine is obviously a model. If you can see her, Emily Ann Greenaway.
It's beautiful, Sue.
It's really, it's a bit randomly stitched because you'll get a colour and start stitching, say, the blue, and then you've got a little bit left over, you think, oh, I can do that letter. Yeah. So you just bob up and do a letter, or the little birds, or something like that. But it's really pretty. I really am, and I'm finding out quite a lot about her as well. I'm in the middle of researching her as well. So
Sue was just saying that she took Emily with her when she went back up north. And everybody who saw her said how Christmassy she was.
So have another look and what do you think? And everybody, my husband and everybody said it looks very Christmassy because actually what you can't see, but everybody thinks that this is like the Christmas tree. But to be stitched on it are, can I say?
Yes, of course you can.
To be stitched on it are 2 deers with the antlers and actually with a red nose.
Rudolph!
So it looks like Rudolph. And I think that sort of together sort of sells it as as looking like a Christmas one.
Can you name all the other reindeer? Sue and I, we like to quiz, and we have a quiz team, don't we?
We do now. And
so
I know there's Donna, Blitz and Prancer.
I tell you what, either this month or next month, I bet that comes up, so we better swat up on that.
Yes. Can't think of the others. Everybody, you'll be shouting them out now, won't you? You'll be going mad with shouting at your iPad.
We must for the Christmas quiz.
Would, yeah. And it won't come up, will it? That would be the thing. Because the last one, it was the new James Bond film that had been out, so we thought, right, well, so we swatted up on that and it never came
Not
up.
one question.
That's all I knew. Never mind.
Oh,
yes, so this is, I'm going to try and get it done. And I think if we can get it out for sort of Christmas, because it does look Christmas tree.
It does look really Christmassy. We thought it would be really lovely for Sue to stitch Emily, because Emily is going to hang very beautifully
if you can see the colours.
Mary Georgina Ramage, and you've got space to put these 2 together in your home.
So
it's nice that you sort of build your sampler wall with a purpose and a focus and a
You can
theme
see
as
the
well.
different colours, but this is 56 count because I've started to stitch on 56 count, and I think she must have been 46.
She was 46 count. So
but I do love her.
Yeah.
I think she's really pretty, isn't she?
She is. I was telling Sue that yesterday I had some really big orders come through for Mary. So I think that there must be a stitch along going at the moment, because there was just this great big flurry of orders for her. She is such a fun sampler. And what I loved about Mary, it says that every man's home is his castle. And then it says wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. And you've got this next to...
Well, we've got like a draft flopier machine and the wine rack and everything in the kitchen. So it just reminds you that when you go for that next gin or that next, perhaps
you shouldn't have
in
it.
moderation.
Yeah. So maybe people are stitching this to their husbands for Christmas.
Yes, because it is a nice one.
It is.
And I haven't been able to visit her grave yet because she does have a grave, but I'm hoping next May, when I go back up north, and we've got to go even further up north, to Northumberland, I'm going to go and visit.
Yeah, and take her.
Yeah, and take her with her.
photograph.
So look out for that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's for next year. We shall do that.
We both like going into graveyards and reading the headstones.
Definitely,
Yeah.
I do enjoy all. I love the research that goes with the samplers. For me, that's almost as important as stitching now.
Yeah.
And you usually look out some good ones, don't you? They've
Yeah,
got a bit of history with it.
So, a little while ago, Sue completed a model, and it is Ruth Gibb. And this was Sue's first project on 56 count,
yes,
and
yes.
you know, you're hooked on it now,
I am,
aren't you?
yeah, I do love it, yeah.
So this is Ruth, the model, and this is Ruth, the original.
What is lovely now, being Sonia and Nicola, is that Nicola now gives me the original.
Mm-hmm.
So that as I'm stitching, I can refer to it. And it's really quite good, isn't it? Because if there's some little errors in the charting, which I'm surprised there aren't even more, because it is so detailed. It's really good, and I can just refer to it. And it's nice to have it.
Nice to feel
it. Is,
yeah.
You sort of really do get the
girls
spirit.
are very important to you,
Yeah.
and feeling close to them. So there we are. This is Ruth, and Ruth is now available as a PDF download and as a printed booklet on the Hats website. And her booklet is available now from Needlework stores throughout the world. And it's a super little booklet. Sue did lots and lots of research on Ruth. So you have several pages.
Yes,
2,
sorry.
4, 6, 8, 9 pages of research. We were very, very lucky with the information that was available.
Yes, on the internet, on the Ancestry website.
Mm-hmm.
There are other people researching Ruth from the family, so we've got some photographs.
Yes. So we found a photograph of Ruth's mother, Naomi, and she is beautiful. I'll insert a photograph into the video. Her mother was a beautiful lady. And to think that photograph, she would have had no makeup on.
No,
you wouldn't want to see a photograph of me without makeup. And her dress is just so beautiful.
It is. It would be lovely to be able to see it in colour, wouldn't it? To see what colours were in it. But So Ruth was born in 1871 in Chidlingley, Sussex. Now I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but there we go. That's the best I can do. And the lady we've been talking about, Naomi, was her mother. But sadly, she died when Ruth was 3, which left her father, John, with not only Ruth, but a younger sister and 2 elder sisters as well. And I suppose in those days, it often happened, didn't it? I don't know, actually, should have got a death certificate to see how she died.
How she died,
yeah. Because she had Esther, the youngest daughter, in 1873, and she died in March 1874.
So
So I wonder if it was anything.
it could have been she just didn't recover
Maybe.
Complications. So when she died, she had 4 daughters from 1 to 6 years of age.
Yeah. So it was, you know, obviously it'd be very difficult for John at that time.
Yeah.
But he does remarry in 1879 to somebody called Althea Moore. And she was 29 when she married John and became stepmother to Ruth and the other girls. Oh, by this time, unfortunately, one of Ruth's sisters had died as well. The youngest one had died. So it's really, I mean, I say that she was no stranger to loss, and it's really sad, isn't it? She'd lose a mother and then her sister.
Absolutely.
Who she was sort of closest in age to. So it's really, really, really sad. But we then have, Nicola's very pleased with this.
I am very pleased, and I'll put this photograph in the video so that you can see it.
You can see that. The only way to really find out people from the census returns, so you kind of jump every 10 years, don't you, to find them out. Sometimes you can find other little things out in parish registers and newspapers and things like that, but basically we're every 10 years we're finding about them. So in 1881, the whole family are living at Farley's Farm in Helsham in Sussex. And John, the father, is a farmer of 200 acres, so that's quite a sizable farm.
Yeah.
And Ruth has another sister now, Althea, obviously named after her mum. And she's 14 months old when she's living with them. They've had another daughter who was born but sadly died. Which it's devastating, isn't it, to family? I mean, but I think they'd be more used to it, or it'd be more
every day. Yeah.
But it doesn't diminish, does it?
It's a bit like divorces now.
Yeah,
you
probably.
Know, you know, most people, know somebody or has somebody in the family that's divorced, and I suppose in Victorian Edwardian times, most people had lost a child, or
it's so sad, but it is how it is. Ruth is a scholar at that time. It's quite interesting. I found something out in 1880. There was a Further Education Act, so it made school attendance compulsory for children between the ages of 5 and 10. And that again is something that we wouldn't think, would we? Because all children go to school.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think there had to be an act to make sure that children went. And because her sampler is dated 1882, I think it's likely that she was living at this Farley's Farm when she stitched it, because that was in 1881. So I think that is probably where she lived when she stitched it.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice. Whether she stitched it at school or a Sunday school, we don't know. But she obviously was at school. Move on another 10 years. And they're living in Sussex at a different farm, and John is now the farm bailiff. So I would imagine he's gone up in status a bit. And they have had another 3 daughters.
Did he have any sons at all?
No. Hannah, Lois and Dora. So I've put in all, he had 9 daughters with 7 still living. So it would be, if they had bathrooms, it would be a bit of a fight for the bathroom, wouldn't it? So it's perhaps as well, perhaps didn't have quite the same. But yes, he was surrounded by girls.
Yeah.
Was John. And this is when I think this family photograph, if we think it could have been taken around 1899 or 1889 or 1890.
And this is Ruth. And I'll put this photograph in the video.
Because if you look, the photograph is, they've got names on it as the members of the family, and we were thinking it might have been one of the little girls, but the 4 girls are Althea, Emma, Hannah, Lois and Dora, so they're all there.
Yeah.
So I would think Ruth must be the girl that stood
next to her father.
No, I was thinking it could be the woman sat down, but like Nicola pointed out, in those days there would be no way that a child would be stood would be sat
Sat.
with an adult. And Ruth's clothes, by this time in 1891, she's actually a servant in the employ of Louisa Scott in Tunbridge Wells in Kent, which is about 18 miles away from where she was born. And she is employed as one of 2 nurses to 5 children. So the family employed 2 nurses to look after children. So really, she would have had, like you say, a Sunday best on, going back to visit.
And she went home and she was in her Sunday best dress.
And I think if you look at compare Naomi now and who we think is Ruth, there are some like their eyes
are so similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both have beautiful eyes.
So that's, we can move on. And then it's quite interesting, in 1901, when we see where she is again, she's back living with her father and 3 of her sisters at the Red Lion Hotel in Hancross, Sussex, and John is the landlord of the hotel. And it's quite a big hotel, it's still there today. There was a fire, and quite a bit of it burnt down, but it's still there today, and you can still go and visit and have a meal there. And it was on the coaching route from London to Brighton, which
would have been very busy.
Very, very busy, yes, and it was the coaching in there. And in fact, you can see lots of photographs where, you know, the people have been coming through and they've had the change of horses and stood out waiting to change them on the stagecoach. So it was a very, very busy place. And she was the housekeeper, and her sister was the barmaid. But I imagine that even as housekeeper, she would have just done whatever.
Absolutely.
Whatever was needed.
It would have been busy and bustling.
It would, yeah. And she would have met a lot of people. One of which I think could have been her husband, because he was a brewery manager, an engineer in the brewery. So I think he could have met there, and that was Arthur George Pelling, and they got married in 1902 in Kensal Green with Westminster, and they were both living at the same address at the time.
I know.
But it's really nice because her father was present at the wedding because he signed as a witness.
That's right. And he's a hotel proprietor.
Hotel proprietor.
So he owned the hotel.
Yeah. Hotel proprietors down, but the hotel, there's quite a bit of information about the hotel as well, because apparently Horatio Nelson called there on his way to the Battle of Trafalgar, because his sister lived in the village.
And if you like some trivia, this is a good one.
Oh yes, it is. And in the 1930s, the landlord was Bombardier Billy Wells.
Now, do you know who Billy Wells was? This is a good one for a quiz.
It is, yeah, we have to hope that comes up.
Yeah.
He was the famous man who banged the gong at the beginning of the J. Arthur Rank films. You know, you can picture him, can't you, banging the gong?
Yeah.
That's who he was, and he was a landlord there as well.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
What I loved about Ruth's marriage certificate is that Ruth signed the certificate. And this really excited me when I saw it, because, and I'm going to put the photograph on the video of her signature, and if you look carefully at her sampler, you will recognise that signature. It's the same as the signature she's stitched on her sampler. And I just think that's amazing that a child of 11 years of age had developed her signature. You know, there's one thing writing your name as a child, to signing your name as an adult. And I've got to admit, it was that really drew me to the sampler. It was the first thing you
told me about, didn't you? You said, oh, I've got one that you really enjoy.
I just love that, and that's really why I bought this sampler.
Because it is such a different font, isn't it?
Absolutely. I just thought, gosh, that little girl, sampler, you know, she had some backbone and spirit, and I was very, very drawn to that.
But it is, when you see it, but it is, it is so similar. And it wasn't necessary for her to do that, because she would have just followed on, like all the little girls do in the same, wouldn't they?
That's right. But she signed her signature.
Yeah, she has. She hasn't just stitched it, she signed it. And it's really special, that. It just makes you have goosebumps. So where are we? We're up to getting them married, aren't we?
Yeah.
1911, obviously, she's married, and she's now Ruth Pelling. And Ruth and Arthur, they lived in northwest London. And I think they're doing quite well for themselves. Because
you can Google their house and the photograph
Yeah.
will come up.
it's, but it's in the census of 1911. It actually records if you've had children, and if you've got any children still living or
Yeah.
children that have died.
Died.
So you would know if they'd had any. No, there are no children recorded at all from that marriage. She's living with Arthur's mother, Anne, so her mother-in-law, and two of her sisters, Sarah and Althea, which I think is quite nice that she's
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
there. And that's when he's shown as a brewer engineer in charge. That's why I think they probably met.
Yeah.
It would be likely, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
absolutely.
But the interesting thing is that there are no children recorded in 1911. But Ruth and Arthur have a daughter, a baby girl, Nancy Ruth Pelling, in 1920. Now this would make Ruth 48 or 49 when she has Nancy. Now I thought immediately, oh, that can't be right.
No.
But I have researched it, and there is nothing to say it isn't. On Nancy's birth certificate, it
Well,
says.
Sue actually sent away.
Yes, I did, because I was just intrigued. I mean, I know it doesn't make any difference, does it really?
No,
but
but
it's just part of.
Ruth's life.
Yeah,
You know.
and
You know, did Ruth desperately want to have a child and she couldn't have a child? She had, you know, she
Yeah.
obviously didn't give birth because on that census return, it would be listed as a child had died.
Yeah.
And you know, at 48, 49 years of age, to have a child, that really is a blessing from God.
it is, yeah.
It really, really
I mean,
is.
from not being able to have any before.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know,
No.
but there's no reason to say that Nancy wasn't
Yeah.
their child. I haven't found that
But
out.
we wondered if, because like obviously adoption and different things there wasn't such strict rules.
No.
We wondered if Nancy may have been adopted, if she might have been a child of one of of Ruth's sisters, or maybe a child of one of her nieces, and they took over. You know, they adopted the child.
Yeah, because Ruth gave birth a couple of miles away from where she lived with Arthur, or where Arthur was when he registered
And it
the
wasn't
birth.
a hospital, it was a
No, I haven't been able to
private home.
find that out.
Yeah.
But I mean, like I say, it doesn't, and I've said in the thing, she's a much loved child.
Yeah.
But Nancy's very, very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
because she actually trained or studied at art college at Bromley College and Ipswich College of Art, and she was an art teacher at a private school for girls, St Felix School in Southwold, for many years, which actually co-authored the history of the school in 1998 as well. She was a very accomplished artist, because she actually had several exhibitions of her work. One of them was from the home that she shared, I think she probably shared with the parents. And there are her works are actually on the internet, you can look
You
it
can
up.
Google it
I
and
don't know if
see.
you want to insert, I don't know how that would work. Anyway.
Have to check on
We'll
copyright.
have a look. Oh yes, copyright, yes,
Mhm.
that thing, yes. But you can look her up yourself. And she was also the first president of the Southwold and District Art Club as well. And there is a picture of her at like a presentation as well. So she had a very full life with art, and she also did weaving, so she liked textiles.
Yeah, textiles.
And she was an artist of landscapes and flowers, but also architectural drawings and that as well. So it was obviously her life.
Yeah. And she never married.
Nope, she never married, and she died in 2008 in a nursing home. Interestingly, on the back
Mm-hmm.
of, I can show you that. It's sort of quite a recent label, isn't it? It's not an old label. Because Because I remember when we looked at it, before we'd done anything, I said, oh, there's a number on it.
Yeah.
And we said, oh, perhaps there are other paintings. Well, now we know that there would have been a lot of
Yeah.
paintings
Yeah.
in the house. But this has been marked for a Duncan Gibb.
Gibb.
So I presume it was meant to go,
Yeah. So when Nancy died, this was meant to go to Duncan Gibb.
who was actually Ruth's cousin. But what is really lovely, it shows us that it stayed in the family. Ruth kept it with her all those years, all those different moves of houses.
Yeah.
She had her sampler with her. And I think it's probably Nancy that said, oh, this must go to Duncan Gibb
Mm-hmm.
and keep it in the family. Now, he died in 2006, so, and Nancy was in 2008, so whether he actually ever took ownership of it
Yeah.
or not, but it passed out of the family.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really lovely that Nicola's found it,
Yeah.
found a connection, and now Ruth's back with a bigger family, shall we
all
say.
of us.
She's back with, yes, and
Yeah.
the story's being told,
That's
which
right.
I think is lovely.
It is lovely.
To conclude, then, unfortunately, well, I'm saying unfortunate, well, it is unfortunate that Ruth died, but she was 88 years of age,
Mhm.
which is a good, and I don't know, with all these girls, they always seem to have a bit of some of a tragic
They
story,
do.
don't they? And it's
Yeah.
really nice to think she was 88 when she died,
Yeah.
and she'd been married to Arthur for 57 years.
Yeah. And Arthur,
Oh, I had to check it and double check it and triple check it, was 106 years old when he died.
that's pretty amazing.
That is old, isn't
Yeah,
it?
very, very old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've obviously had a lovely life. Oh, and
Yeah.
I have to say, in 1939, they were living at a house called Gipperswick,
Gipperswick.
Pontail Lane, Horsham, Sussex. I think that is
It's
lovely.
lovely, isn't it? It's a
It's-
beautiful name.
I know, I'd love, to write a word, oh, I live at Gipperswick, Pontail Lane, I think it's lovely.
Yeah. So,
But there's all the information, all the photographs
Yeah.
in there, and I probably could have gone on for a lot longer, but I
so
do
if
have
you
to
love
limit
your
myself.
history and you really like knowing the little girls that you're stitching her sampler, Ruth has it all.
But
She
what
really does.
you would look at Ruth, wouldn't you, and think, oh, it's just small, it's plain, it's very simple, one colour, and it might not necessarily appeal as much as the other more flamboyant ones. But for me, I think she's just a perfect little sampler.
She's gorgeous.
Because, like we've said, small things.
Absolutely.
You know, a little
Absolutely.
sampler's got such a big story to tell. And that's what's really important with all the samplers, I think.
Yeah.
That there is a girl, there is a life, there is a family behind all of them.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the quotes I chose for the book was, sometimes the smallest things take up the most room in our heart. And if we're quizzing, do you know who said that?
I don't.
Winnie the Pooh. Anyway, Ruth's sampler is 145 stitches by 105. If you stitched her on 14 count aid, which is 28 count linen, she would be 10.36 by 7.5. On 18 count Aden, which is 36 count linen, she would be 806 by 5.83 inches. And on 56 count linen, which is what Sue used, she's 5.18 inches by 3.75. She only uses one colour. She was stitched with Soie 103 from
Yes,
Rivera Soie, which
yeah.
you are loving.
Oh,
aren't
I
you?
do like that, yeah.
Yeah. We provide a conversion for Soie d'Alger and for DMC. She doesn't take a lot of thread. On 36 count and higher, you need one skein. And if you stitch on below 36 count, below 18 count aid, you just need 2 skeins. And it's just cross stitch over 2.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely little sampler.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I will mention is on the border.
Oh yeah, this is really
Yes, the
interesting.
lacy border. Her count is that in between. I don't know, like the triangle
Yeah.
bits. There's usually like 2 stitches,
Yeah.
and then you move. But sometimes she'll just sneak a little one in.
Yeah.
So you've
So
just
what we've
got to be
done,
careful.
I've put beware.
Yeah, there's just 2 or 3 of those, so
Yeah.
you just
And
have to be mindful.
there's a little anomaly with her alphabet as well.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention that.
Can you see what the anomaly is? Hey, this is a quiz video.
It is, I was thinking that. I didn't realise it initially, it's only when you're stitching and you look really, really close. But if you look at the end of her alphabet, she's put the W at the bottom, so it should be UVW, shouldn't it? To follow the alphabet, UVW, XY. So the XYZ should be on the bottom, and it's not. She's put, and I was stitching, I thought that can't be right, but it is. Now, when I've looked at it, the W, the number of stitches that it takes up would make it too big to go in there. It wouldn't actually fit in. So did she stitch the border and think, oh, it didn't fit in, or else did she? I don't think it's an error. I don't think she's really made it, or else she's probably thought if she put the W in, it would make it too wide, and the rest of it wouldn't balance.
That's right.
Quite the same. So I think that's
So she used her cognoscity.
She did,
and improvised.
yeah.
When you study samplers and you see the little anomalies, it makes you think why. And through thinking why, you try to get into their mindset and you bond with them, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
But she's a little sweetie.
Yeah, a little gem.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a nice little project, doesn't take too long.
No. I hope you enjoy her.
Yes,
She's brought us a lot of fun.
Yes, she has, yeah.
You know, we've had great fun with your research and learning more about her and putting her booklet together. This is a really, really lovely little booklet.
It is. It's a lovely little one, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite a nice bit of a nice clear chart again.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoy.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
Yes.
There we are. I've got Mary Locke here because I'm saying goodbye to Mary Locke today.
Oh.
There is a box waiting for her. And Mary is now off on her travels and she's going to the Attic Needleworks. So if you are close to Mesa, from next week on, pop in and see this beautiful sampler. It really is.
It is
A Bobby Dazzler of a sampler. It was stitched by Vina Parika, who lives in Iceland.
Oh.
Vina is American, but her and her husband moved to Iceland. Her husband is a fabulous photographer. And if you're interested in seeing or learning more about Iceland, he has a blog where he shares his photographs, and it's amazing.
I'd love to go to Iceland.
Yeah, well, that could be
The scenery.
Yeah, we could go and have a little retreat with Vina.
Okay.
So anyway, this is going off to the attic this afternoon, all ready to box up. Yeah, they're gorgeous.
I love this basket.
Yeah, just that basket by itself
Yeah.
would make a nice little sample.
It would.
It
The
would.
colours, how it works.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway,
If we bored you all now, going on and on.
we can talk for hours.
I know. I told you you were going to be part of our catch-up.
So anyway, I suppose it's time to say,
Yes.
stay safe, stay well.
Yes. Look
Bye,
after
bye.
each other. Bye-bye.